It's Epiphany. And Epiphany is a word that means the light comes on. And the light comes on means that we can see clearly. The Epiphany season is about the realization that God is light and that God has come into our world so that we might be saved. And saved meaning that we might be taken out of our lostness and brought into our foundness. We may be transformed from people who don't know exactly what's going on to people who are very clear about what's going on and are very determined to do the best that they can to make God's will present on earth as it is in heaven. We live in a very advanced technological age. There are brilliant things going on all around us. Every day it seems that the world is getting better and better in terms of the tools that we have to make life easier and easier. I used to read about this as a boy in science fiction stories, but it seems now that we are living in a science fiction story. I have heard that you can actually buy a little machine, you can put it in your house somewhere, and you can say, Siri, turn the lights on. And this little machine will turn the lights on. Siri, play this song for me. And that song will be played for you. This whole idea that we have built a system of tools that are making us live as though we were gods. Let there be light. Let there be music. Let there be. But the thing is, that which is giving us the response to our requests is not God, but something that we have made with our own hands. And that's always been a problem in the Bible. The challenge has always been to liberate people from the worship of the work of their own hands so that they might find their place in the love of God. Now, one of the characters in view on Epiphany is King Herod. And King Herod is somebody worth looking up. National Geographic did a wonderful article on King Herod some years ago. You can probably Google him and learn about him. But King Herod was a brilliant person. He knew how to get things done. Herod was there in Shakespeare's play when Julius Caesar is assassinated. Herod was one of the persons in that story. He was a good friend of Mark Antony. And Mark Antony was a very famous person in history. Herod was a friend of Cleopatra's. Herod was somebody who knew how power worked, and he stepped into that power, and this made him valuable to various persons. At one point, Octavius, who was the governor or the emperor of Rome, fell out with Mark Antony, and that left Herod in a bit of a bind. But Herod said to Octavius, look, I've served Mark Antony very, very well. I've done things for him that made him successful. I'll serve you in exactly the same way. Herod knew how to take advantage of opportunity. And Herod became the king of Judea. And one thing you will discover about Herod is that he changed life for many people in Jerusalem in particular. He had great building projects. He made temples. He made fortresses. One of the things he made was a seaport city. They dredged out the shoreline so that great big boats could come from other continents bringing trade, bringing merchandise. And we see that in the Isaiah text. The Isaiah text talks about a place that is full of glory, it's full of wonder, it's full of marvel, it's full of good things. Isaiah talks about the fulfillment of God's wishes for people on the planet Earth. Now, I'm guessing that in the Jerusalem temple, during the days of Herod, the priests would read scripture. And I'm guessing that Isaiah, the text we heard today, was a key text. It's as if people were saying, what Isaiah said 500 years ago is coming through, coming true. Look how glorious things are since Herod has been here. But the thing is that it was not exactly as Isaiah had imagined it. And Isaiah had imagined a future in which God's will was done, but Isaiah had imagined a future not in which some people were enriched, some people were made powerful, some people had privilege and prestige, but Isaiah had in mind a time when all people. And that's what's expressed in the psalm. The psalm expresses the same sentiments as Isaiah, but it makes something very, very clear. And throughout the psalm, what we hear is God's intercession for the lost, the broken, the poor, the hungry, the left out. And that's so important, because in the days of Herod, the religious people had adopted the way of power. And they had believed that God was manifest in the way of power. But that wasn't the case. Now in the gospel story, we hear about three persons from the ancient East. They were probably from India, maybe from Persia, maybe from Arabia. But these were persons from the Eastern traditions who had studied the way of history. They may have been astrologers. We get that sense when we hear that they followed a star, and the star led them to the place where Jesus was. Now these three wise persons traveled to see what it was that God was doing in Palestine at the time. And when they arrived, the first place they stopped was in Jerusalem. And in Jerusalem, they had an opportunity to speak with King Herod. And they asked King Herod about this child who had been born. And this came as news to King Herod, and it upset him a little bit. Because whenever somebody is in a place of power, they worry about somebody who might change things. So the wise men came to Herod. They talked with Herod, and Herod said, "When you find the baby, please come and tell me where he is." Now Herod did not want to worship the baby. Herod wanted to do away with the baby. And that's a clue about the kind of rulership that Herod embodied. It was a rulership that favored some and thought nothing of others. To kill a child for Herod was nothing. The three wise men traveled on from Herod's place, and they went to Bethlehem. And at Bethlehem, they met the baby Jesus. They worshipped the baby Jesus. They gave gifts to the baby Jesus. And these gifts were symbolic. Symbolic of Jesus' royalty, symbolic of Jesus' priestly nature, and symbolic of the suffering that Jesus was going to undergo in behalf of humanity. The three wise men came to see Jesus, not just for their sake, but also because we read the story for our sake. There was something going on in Bethlehem that was of great historical significance. Now, after the visit with Jesus, the three wise men went back, but they didn't go back to Herod. They went back home, and it says they went by another road. And I'd like to take that phrase, by another road, as a symbol that we have been living in one direction. We have been living under one set of ideas. We have had things that have stimulated us, encouraged us, and has led us to grow in the way that we have in our modern time. But going by another road means making a decision. And the decision in the story of the Epiphany, the story of the three wise men visiting Jesus, is that we have a choice between the way of power as it's represented in Herod and as it's represented in various other persons throughout history, persons who have the ability to make themselves great, to make their lives wonderful at the expense of other people. But the story that we heard today is saying that God has moved the center of attention. The center of attention is no longer on the great and the powerful. The center of attention is no longer on those who can manipulate the world for their own advantage. The power is now with the meek and the lowly child, Jesus. And as we go forward from here, we will begin to discover what it is that Jesus has to offer the world. We have done this in a cycle for years and years and years. We have opportunity now, not just to repeat the story of Jesus, to hear what we've always heard, but to look at the story of Jesus in a new way. Each one of us has that opportunity to say, what is this story saying to me right now? So what I would like to encourage is that we've gathered here in this very early part of a new year, and I'm hoping that we will be committed to following another road. Not the road of the way of power by which our world is being challenged, shall we say, but to follow the way of love revealed in the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm going to encourage each and every one of you to make a decision, to look again at the stories you've heard all of your life, and to ask, is there something new here for me? Is there something new here for us? So that we begin this year not as persons who have heard it all before, but as persons who have deep roots in the past, but our growth, our branches are reaching into the future. We are longing for God's will to be manifest in our experience, for God's love to shine in us like light, leading this world out of darkness and into the promise of God's heavenly kingdom. I'll say amen at that point.